Good morning. Oh man, you can see my whole mess back here. Hi. You know what? It's real. It's real today. I see some people here. Hi, Alice. Good morning. If you all want to jump right in and tell me who's here and share a high and a low from your week, or one or the other, or both, that would be lovely. I would love to hear from you. I see a few people on. Good morning. My name is the Reverend Julia Matiana Friedman. I am teaching on the prophet Jeremiah today. Welcome, friends. Hi. If you want to share a high and a low from your week, good morning. Welcome back, Matt. Do you have kids with you today, or is it just you? Alice's high for the week is that she's back in Cambridge. Welcome back as well, Alice. I know you've been with us in church school, even though you've been away. A negative COVID test. Yay. Good to hear that, Alice. And Alice's low is that it's still humid outside. Yes, it is humid here in Rhode Island. I'm in Rhode Island. Cambridge is humid today too, it sounds like. Alice, is it generally a nice day out? Yesterday was kind of cloudy and a little bit humid here, and then today the sky is totally clear, so at least it's nice out and the temperature's not too hot. But maybe Cambridge is hotter. Morning. Hi, Kimberly. Welcome. Matt is flying solo, he says. I hope this is okay to share, Matt. I assume you were with your kiddos and other family all week, if I remember correctly. So it sounds like you kind of have some alone time, some refresh time maybe, depending on. Hi, Eric. Welcome. Hello, the Gotti kids are here. Cambridge is a perfect 70 degrees. I like that. That sounds nice to me. Daniel, Rebecca, do you guys have all the kiddos with you today too? I want to say hi to them. Hello. I heard through the grapevine, Rebecca, I hope it's okay that I highlight this, that you're starting classes in the fall. Is that right? That seems exciting. And it sounds like Bethany and Autumn and Sandro. I'm missing one. Hold on. Who am I missing? All the Gottis. Bethany, Autumn, AB, Colette. Hi. I'm glad you guys are here. Share a high and a low. Oh, full-time homeschooling. Yeah. Rebecca, I'm so sorry about that. I mean, I'm sorry about not being able to start school for yourself. Not sorry about homeschooling, unless that's not so good for you. But I think you have experience with that. But yeah, that's a lot. Hi, Wilmers. You're here. All right. Well, share a high and a low from your week. My high is that I had a little extra time to read this week, so that was fun. Some weeks are better than others. This week was a week that I got to do a little extra reading. My low is that my body and my mind and my heart just feel sad for the racism we're seeing in our country, and especially the shooting of Jacob Blake. So, but yeah, share your high and your lows for the week. I'm going to go ahead and jump in, but please keep sharing and typing. Let's start with our bell. One of our traditions is to use a bell as the signal that we're starting our Bible time and to remember that God is present with us. One way we do this is you can put your thumb out, and then when you don't hear the bell anymore, you can put your thumb up. All right. So today's Old Testament, it's the alternate Old Testament reading, is from Jeremiah, the book of Jeremiah. So instead, we traditionally often focus on the gospel lesson. I believe Reverend Matt's going to preach on that at 10:30. So I'm going to focus on this Old Testament lesson. We're going to take a look at the life of Jeremiah and talk about one of the characteristics that I think is admirable. It's this word, empathy. Maybe you've heard of it. Hopefully you've heard of it. Jeremiah is one of the major prophets. Oops, backwards, upside down. Major prophets. Here I have my major and then minor prophets. There's two kinds of prophets in the Bible. A major prophet just means that he has a large book, lots of writing, and they traditionally have their own book. There are some prophets who don't have their own book in the scriptures. Now, if you do a quick study of Jeremiah, you could even type prophet of Jeremiah into Google, and you will see that he comes up and is known. Does anybody know what he's known for? Oh, Isaac's here. Hello, Isaac. And Patrick and Donal are here. Nathaniel's around. Hi, Nathaniel, if you're around. Welcome. I've missed all of you. I'm so glad you all are here. Share a hi and a low. I'm interrupting my own lesson. Share a hi and a low if you would like. Love to hear how you're doing, Isaac. All right, back to Jeremiah. He's known as the weeping prophet. And there's a few reasons for this. Some people say it's because he has so much to say about the destruction of Jerusalem and what is promised to happen to God's people. Some people say it's because part of the book contains poems from the time when he was captured and imprisoned, which obviously that can be a little bit depressing and sad. So that makes sense that these poems have a very sad and depressed and sort of weepy feeling about them. Someone who shares Jeremiah's name. Yeah, you guys, yeah. Anne, sounds like Anne or somebody knows somebody named Jeremiah. One thing that is true about the prophet of Jeremiah is that he prophesied about both God's judgment and hope. All right, so he prophesies. Let me see if I have my picture here. He prophesies about about God's people breaking their promises to God, but he also prophesies about hope. One of the things that makes a prophet in the Bible is that they have a special story about when God calls them to do this job. Now, Jeremiah was called to, he was a priest who was called to be a prophet in the southern kingdom of Judah. And in chapter 1, the very beginning, God appoints Jeremiah to do two things. First, to uproot and tear down, a little bit depressing, we would call this judgment or truth, and to plant and build up. I'm going to pause here for a second because I want to look at these comments, so bear with me, bouncing back and forth. It sounds like is it Isaac's birthday? Or did he have a birthday? Happy birthday, happy belated birthday, Isaac. Yeah, Alice says, our almost Jeremiah might weep when faced with stacks of blue books. That's funny. Or their electronic equivalent. That's actually very funny. Weeping college professor. All right. Back to Jeremiah. When I study the person of Jeremiah, I see someone who's trying to feel what other people are feeling, putting himself in the shoes of others. He talks about in his long book of a lot of writings, he talks about what it's like to be poor. He talks about what it's like to be left alone or to be rejected. And then he offers God's hope to his people. I see this as Jeremiah's empathy. Happy birthday, Kate. Sounds like it's Kate's birthday. All right. Now, did you guys know that there are modern day prophets too? Did you know that? Modern day prophets. I'm going to highlight one modern day prophet. Her name is Michelle Obama. You may have heard of her. And I'm going to read a quote. Happy birthday, Kate. I'm going to read a quote from the modern day prophet, Michelle Obama. This is what she said recently. Let me get my picture. Empathy. This is a quote from Michelle Obama, the modern day prophet. Empathy. That's something I've been thinking a lot about lately. The ability to walk in someone else's shoes, the recognition that someone else's experience has value too. Most of us practice this without a second thought. If we see someone suffering or struggling, we don't stand in judgment. We reach out because but for the grace of God go I. It's not a hard concept to grasp. It's what we teach you guys, our children. She goes on to say in her speech, again, this is a quote from the modern day prophet, Michelle Obama. She says, so it's up to us to add our voice to the course of history, echoing heroes like John Lewis, who said, when you see something that's not right, you must say something. You must do something. That is the truest form of empathy. Not just feeling, but doing. Not just for ourselves and our kids, but for everyone, for all of our kids. All right, friends. So Michelle Obama, like Jeremiah, is a prophet of truth or judgment, and also a prophet of hope. I wonder, friends, if there are modern day prophets that you can think of or that you know of. Nathaniel says, get in trouble, good trouble. Very good, Nathaniel. A John Lewis quote. Can you think of other modern day prophets? I think Nathaniel is saying John Lewis is a modern day prophet, and I think you're right. I wonder if you have a favorite prophet from the Bible. Nathaniel is a prophet. We would consider him in the Bible actually, I think his name is Nathan. And Nathaniel, do you know what your name means? Because there is a prophet named Nathan. And in the Bible, he's a minor prophet because he doesn't have his own book. And he has a lot of wisdom to share with us. So that's another prophet I can think of from the scriptures. Alice says another modern day prophet is Martin Luther King Jr. Yeah. But both Nathaniel and Isaac are very biblical names. Sandra says Joseph was a prophet, and that's his favorite from the Bible. Thanks, Sandra, for sharing that. Yeah. Great point. Great addition. Sandra, can you think of any modern day prophets also? This is a tough one, but I'm curious if there are kids who can think of other modern day prophets. All right. I wonder if God has appointed you or called you to be a prophet. There are lots of jobs that God calls us to, lots of different jobs. Some people are called to be prophets. And who is the prophet that is, he's a priest, but he's called when he's young? Samuel. Is that right? Check my Bible. If JT's here, maybe Matt. I think Samuel is called when he is a kid. He's called to be a priest, which is includes the role of prophet sometimes. Joseph, Alice reminds us that Joseph is an awesome prophet. He talks about the dreams, he wears the coat, and forgives his brothers. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Samuel. Thank you, Alice, for checking my Bible memory. Good. I wonder if God has appointed you to be a truth teller or a prophet. I also wonder what Jeremiah thought about his call from God. And I think there are references in the scriptures that tell us what Jeremiah thought about being a prophet. One of the reasons he's called a weepy prophet is that he complained a little bit, my friends. He complained about being called by God. So it's not all peaches and roses or whatever the saying is. I just made that up. Sometimes it's a little weepy. Donal and Patrick, do you guys know of any modern day prophets? Or do you have a favorite prophet from the Bible? What about sometimes not peaches and roses, but lemons and thorns? Yeah, thanks, Alice. Yeah. Let's see. Autumn and Bethany and Colette may know some prophets, but I would love to hear if you guys can think of other prophets in the scriptures. There's also a really big one that starts with a J. I know Sandro shared about Joseph. There's another really big one that starts with a J. Who's that, my friends? Patrick thought about how Thomas Jefferson gave the Declaration of Independence, which is a way of telling people how to live together. Yeah, absolutely. I think politicians, someone like Thomas Jefferson is definitely a type of prophet. Yeah. Colette knows about trolls. I love it. Yes. What's wrong? Matt. Did I lose connection here, my friends? Oh, no, that's not a prophet that starts with a J. Matt, there's another prophet in the Bible who starts with a J, and he's a pretty big one. That's funny. Elijah, and we talk about the prophet Elijah over Passover. Yeah, good. Is that Isaac, or is Kate offering that? Thank you, Gotti family. Excellent. Yeah, Jesus was a prophet. He is called to lots of roles also. He's called the prophet and the king and the priest. Are those the three roles? Yes, I believe so. Nathaniel offered that Elijah is also a prophet, and we talk about him at Passover. Very good. Very good. Finally, I wonder if you've tried to have empathy for someone who was different from you. Yeah, good, Kate. Passover hint. Excellent. I wonder if you've tried to have empathy for someone who is different from you, and what was hard about that for you? If you want to share this, I would love to hear. What was hard for you about that, and what good came from that? When you had to try to feel empathy, put yourself in someone else's shoes and experiences who is different from you. Oh, Isaac has his own handle. That's great. I didn't see that earlier, but I love it. Yeah, this is a big, deep question, which is why I'm offering some silence, because this is a tough one. And I was actually trying to think myself about a time when I had empathy for someone who was different than me. And I can think of times, I'm not sure I'm ready to share them. So that's okay if you're not ready to share them. But I really do want you to try to think for a moment about a time when you had empathy, put yourself in somebody else's shoes who was different from you. And what was hard about that? And also what good came from that. Isaac, thank you. Colette, I'm trying to think of something clever to say about trolls, but I can't. Although I'm grateful that you're here and that you shared with us what your mind is thinking about today. Anthony is different from you. Yeah. Anthony is your cousin, if I recall correctly. Sandro. I'm fond of a moment when Juliet and Duncan. Matt says that he's fond of a moment when Juliet and Duncan had a chance to chat with a homeless man who lived on the St. James's steps. Yeah, who is different from them. And Matt notices that they learned from each other, which is what good came from that moment. Anne shares that when Patrick didn't want to get up this morning, I could understand how good it feels to relax in bed with a good book, even though that wasn't how she was feeling. Yeah. And kids and parents are in very different places, right? And sometimes we do need to feel empathy for each other. Being a kid today is very different from being a kid when, as an example, Anne and Jeremy were kids. Thanks for sharing that, Anne. Alice is asking the Gaudy kids if they have empathy for Anthony when they notice that he's different from them. Do they put themselves in his shoes? And what is that like? Anne says that she was acting this morning on her understanding of how Patrick was feeling. Acting on her understanding of how Patrick feels, if harder, because I really wanted to get up. I don't really know what that means. I'm sorry. I felt terrible when our leopard gecko got sick. Alice says she felt terrible when her leopard gecko got sick. And it slowly wasted away. She still gets sad about it. Yeah, sure. Alice, I think part of what prophets do today is have empathy for our creation. Absolutely. When we are trying to sustain creation and sustain the environment, we do have to feel empathy for, I don't know, trees and worms who live in the compost pile in some ways. And I think you're saying that that it felt harder for Patrick because he didn't want to get up. Is that what you meant? Is harder because right. Anne is saying because Patrick and Anne are in different places, she had to act on her understanding of Patrick which is harder when you're in a different place from each other. Anne really wants to get up, and Patrick really wants to rest and sleep in. But I'm glad you made it, Patrick. Oh, so the Gotti family has like different family rules from Anthony's family. Yeah, and you have to put yourself in someone else's shoes and realize, well, different families have different, rules or different priorities even, maybe. It's hard. Kate says, I think this is Kate. It's hard to choose to accommodate a child's wishes when they conflict with your own as a parent. Absolutely. Well said. Both Kate and Anne, I can relate to this, and thanks for sharing. Yes. It is harder to have empathy when Alice says it's harder to have empathy when your wants or needs are different. Yeah. Which is why it's so important, I think, Alice. Really, really good point. Yeah. Well, I love this discussion. Thank you for sharing. I think Jeremiah was a prophet who demonstrates this quality. He talks about people who are poor, people who felt rejected. He talks about these people who are in a different place than him, and he tries to name their feelings. I'm going to reference one more time Jeremiah's call. This is chapter 1 of Jeremiah, verse 10. Jeremiah is called to uproot and tear down, but also to plant and build up. I think some of us are called to that today. And I want to encourage you to exercise your muscle of empathy this week and as you continue to grow. Please feel free to keep typing in the chat and discussing and sharing with each other. I'm going to go ahead and sign off, but I believe this chat will remain open for as long as you guys want. Thank you again for coming to church school. I hope to see you again next week. I am forgetting who's teaching off the top of my head, but if Alice remembers, please feel free to share. We also have a guest teacher this month coming. If you all remember our friend Joe Kimmel, he is, Matt, what's it called? In the process of seeking to be a priest, I believe. And he is going to share a Bible story with us this month. So I hope you will join us again. I will leave you with a blessing. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord's face shine upon you and be gracious to you all the days of your life. Through Christ our Lord. Amen.